Welcome back inside the Parc Fermé for podcast number 736. Woo! This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now!
That's right, a.k.a. Negative Camber.
He's from Missouri, where they're all known to be killers of innocent men, women, and children.
Which is why I need you to do me a favor.
You must convince the villagers that I'm harmless.
That's what I need you to do. Tonight, for your kind consideration, we're going to cover Formula One news. That's typically what we do on off weekends. Before doing that, though, I do have to introduce my co-host, which means... That's right, I gotta go all the way to the right coast of our nation, nestled in the capital of our nation, where she has the Burj Khalifa of cat trees, and she crunches numbers and does all kinds of statistical stuff that I don't understand, but I'm glad she does. You know her, you love her. It's the redoubtable Grace. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm pretty sure there's some shenanigans happening already.
Yeah.
There's only one cat in the cat tree, and another cat has shown up. This never works out good.
Yeah, it's going down right now.
So watch this space right here.
Kitty wars. This time it's personal. Yeah.
That's right. So,
Yes.
pretty good. I like that you said that on the off weeks we cover F1 news. I don't know. Do we? I think people might debate that kind of. I think it accidentally happens sometimes, but I don't know that.
Every once in a while, yeah, that's a good point.
You know.
I mean, judging by the reviews, yeah, maybe occasionally we'll cover Formula One, and you would think that the rest of the hour we'd spend talking about nonsense.
You know, I'm going to start out with some, not F1 news, but some F1 related information. So I did get some slack for my comments about Baku, which as soon as I said it, I was like, I don't know. Baku's actually, you're right, pretty good race usually. And I don't know why I still hold it against Baku. Some people were like, come on, Grace. I'm like, well, you just say things and we don't edit and that happens.
Yeah, it's all live.
And then we get the race that we got. Like, that makes up for Monaco, where I was like, well, gee, I don't know what Paul and Todd are going to talk about. I don't know how you kept it within the time frame that you aimed for.
I know.
Baku. There's a few things going on there. So I just want to put it out now. You know what? Paul Ricard is terrible. It's boring and I always hate it. And I don't know why we still go there.
Here it comes. Feel the haterade.
Let's hope. I mean, that track is that okay. So that one, do not tweet hate me about how great Paul Ricard is, because that is a lie. That is not true.
Yeah, that's a tough track to watch if you're mesmerized or even medically impaired by visual cues like multiple stripes and fast-moving object over multiple stripes. It's like that spinning disc, look at the center and just stare at the center for
Like
10
it's a Twilight
seconds
Zone.
and then quickly look at the wall.
And it's spinning.
And you'll see Alonso go around.
Well, I was joking. So, Flip plays the Formula One game, right? And has a sim and a steering wheel and the whole 9 yards, right? And so he's racing and somebody hits him and he spins out. And I'm like, well, at least you didn't hit anything, right? Because you're a Paul Ricard. It's like 3 states away before you hit something, right? Like...
Right, you'll skid off, and by the time you hit the Tech Pro barrier, that's like 2 languages away.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, well, at least you didn't hit anything. That seemed like the only input I had. As often I'm not the kindest person when watching him race.
Yeah, that's all right.
Didn't hit anything.
It's you're entitled to your opinion on Paul Ricard.
I guess. I mean, I already give him a hard time because sometimes we'll watch when they do the one driver laps, during qualifying, and he'll go, oh, so that's how he takes that turn. I'll be like, oh, George Russell, look at you, like you drive the track. I give him a hard time for that at all. Although it is very helpful because I have learned the tracks better by watching him race and having that input. But I do always give him a hard time when he's like, oh, so that's how Charles Leclerc does it. I'll have to try that the next time I play.
Now jump in a car and go 180 miles and try that. A little different.
I can't do any of it, so that's why.
No, but the seat shakes. Yeah, I know. But I've been 185 miles an hour with Sebastian, and that shakes. That was white knuckle time.
Also, I will put out there, as you have cats, so you also understand that the second you're still, they often see this as, oh, this is my chance to like sit on you now because you are the warmest thing in the room. You're my heat rock, like a lizard would So often I picture him driving like this and Mikasa just like sits right on his chest and he's like looking around her trying to drive. Because that's love. You just leave her be and you still try to play your game, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's crazy.
All right.
Oh boy. Well, we did have an exciting race at Baku, and
did.
Paul and I did cover that. And if you missed that race review, good news for you. You can still go download it. It's on our podcast on your preferred podcast listening app. Also, just a quick note, I keep saying this now, but every once in a while people miss it, that we now record the video of these podcasts and we throw them on YouTube. Now, for the first, I would say 400 and some podcasts, things were relatively, it was, just a fun community and we all enjoyed each other. But as time has gone on, people are pretty pointed. And I would say in the last year, maybe everybody's got that COVID influence haterade going on and frustration. And so I do get a lot of feedback on that. And some folks were not happy with me putting ads in our YouTube video.
Oh.
So apologies, but we're not monetized and we're only doing 736 episodes of the podcast thanks to the graciousness of our Patreon supporters. Right. And I reckoned if I just threw the videos up and, I had a few ads you could skip through or whatever, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But apparently it was. So I did try to tamp that down. I apologize. What do I know? I'm not a YouTube guru and I'm not a YouTube creator per se.
We were creating content before creating content was a thing.
Yes.
So people need to back it up.
Yeah, we were since 2005.
That's right.
Yes. So, so apologies, but, I may leave a few ads in there and, just skip through them, man. What do I get? $5,
I mean, I watch Top Chef on Bravo's app and I have to watch 8 apps every 20 minutes,
gosh.
right?
Yeah.
Come on, you can, and much like during, especially when racing used to still be on speed, but it's the same 6 ads over and over again, right? Like that's the worst part. Like, I wonder what's going to happen. I don't know because I've watched the same ad 17 times in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's usually Grammarly, and it's like, would you shut up? It's like writing is hard. No, not really. It's just, okay. Yeah, writing is hard. And it's like, I don't want somebody recording every single thing I type. Don't. Go away. Stop.
I do like how in the Formula One races here in the United States, we get that Mother's Car Wax ad.
Yeah.
Because ESPN does not play. Like the second it's like over, it's over. Like there's no like, and we're like, there's no nice Bob Varsha going like, and that's the end of our broadcast, right? Like, no, it's just like, boom, done. And it's just like,
there's some woman, and that's it for the Mother's Day. Thank you for joining us and blah, blah, blah for the something Grand Prix. Be sure to tune in to whatever. And those are all like pre-recorded.
Yeah, it's just like the most abrupt thing. Like you could be in the middle of a, they could be interviewing something and they're in the middle of the sentence, but we hit our 2 hours and we're out. It doesn't matter.
I know, we're all excited. They're spraying champagne and we're waiting for Simon or somebody just, to talk us down off the mountain a little bit, just ease us back into normal daily life. That's then it just abruptly stops. And this woman who's still wearing winter clothes when they recorded all those is saying, that's it for our coverage of the Formula One Grand Prix, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's like,
all right. Okay. I guess we're going to YouTube now, right?
Yeah, I guess we're done. So I close my browser, stand up and say, I don't even know how to process all that,
Yeah, because they still have to wait to get Ted Kravitz. So, I got to wait.
Yeah, got to wait and find some sort of rogue version of Ted's Notebook to listen to.
That is true. Why is that? Why do I have to find rogue versions of Ted Kravitz's Notebook?
Oh, it's because we're not British and we don't have Sky Sports F1, and I get that, but...
Ted Kravitz is the best thing those guys have got on most weekends.
I know. He's like a great Cornish pasty, which, by the way, he hates the smell of.
But he actually provides some informative knowledge.
Oh, he's awesome. I love Ted.
Yeah,
I think Ted's great.
I hate that I have to wait and then hope to find some random YouTube somebody.
I know. I'm just glad Ted doesn't always constantly every weekend talk about how he runs around the circuits.
No.
I don't know, man.
No, but I do like at Monaco where I thought he was going to get into like, a fist fight with Christian Horner's like media person. Like,
Yeah.
well, I'm live, so maybe you should talk to me or not.
It's tomorrow. Yeah. Right.
Great. See, even Ted Kravitz has that experience with Christian Horner.
Well, I felt it was
That's the
personal.
Yeah.
When I wished him a happy birthday the day before his actual birthday. But now, if he's got like, media and press people, thugs that beat Ted Kravitz up, I don't feel so bad.
No, exactly.
I didn't get taken out behind the garage and kicked with steel-toed boots.
No, right. I mean, that's Ted
crazy.
Kravitz. He's a national treasure.
Well, he's a national hero, that Ted Kravitz.
That's right.
They should make him Sir Ted Kravitz.
Yes, and they gave him I guess it's Formula One, so I'm fine with making these tangents. But I also like that he has the Terry Woken / Gene Rayburn extender mic now. That is the greatest addition, and he should always have that.
The Gene Rayburn microphone. Do you remember how long that thing was?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I mean, right. So he called it the Terry Woken microphone because he's British, but just here in America, that's totally the Gene Rayburn, really long microphone, right?
Right.
So
and Simon's walking around with that big stick. He looks like Gandalf. Walking through the paddock.
He uses it like a walking stick, and I'm somewhere there's some audio guy that's like, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
That is an expensive piece of equipment, I'm sure, and you're using it like a $10 walking stick you got at REI. I'm sure I'm surprised that he showed up at another race with it, because I'm sure that some audio guy was like,
yeah, I'm sure. I don't know what kind it is. It's not an SM57 or anything. I'm sure it's a $600 mic, or he's got it on this long boom. And imagine the audio guys in the auto truck. Every time you tap it, it's like,
yeah,
stop it! It's not a toy.
I'm just waiting for some guy to run across and just grab it and walk away from him. You don't get to have this anymore.
Grow up, Simon.
It's not a walking stick.
You're a professional. Rise above it.
Yes, use your legs like God gave you.
That's right. Let's talk about some Formula One news, shall we?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Kind of big news out of the Williams camp. Did I say Williams? Yes, I did. And now Simon Roberts is going. That's exactly what he's doing. New boss, Jost Capito, took a few months, actually, to be specific, 100 days, to assess the Williams operation, where he...
Expired.
Yeah. Thanks, Aunt Bonnie.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he determined that there were he was looking for any sort of friction points and possible changes.
In a Formula One team, friction points? What?
So imagine, if you will, you are the person that works in some part of the Williams operation doing some sort of
stuff,
generic job.
Right.
And the new guy comes in and says, I'm taking 100 days to assess everybody's job in this entire operation, right?
Right.
Yost is coming. Look busy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but Patrick Henn said that they have some issues. I mean, that's pretty strong. So
Yeah. Well, anyway, one of those changes that he has now seemed to find is the team principal, Simon Roberts, who they've just kicked to the curb. And this is the very Simon Roberts a couple races ago that they were interviewing over the weekend. You know how Sky does that with Christian or insert random team boss. Well, Simon Roberts was one, and I thought he did a great job. And, no more. No longer.
Nope.
He is out. Oh, give us your jacket, big boy.
That's right.
You're going home.
So I can run up 7 steps at a time, so I can hang up your jacket on a mirror.
Yes. So he's gone. BBC had an interesting take on this. They said what was interesting is Capito found that there was a disconnect between the racing engineering team and the factory engineering team. And in order to solve that, they were promoting technical director Francois Xavier de Maison, or as he's affectionately known as FX. And now FX is going to oversee all of the engineering from the racing to the factory and combine that into one. Apparently, maybe some of that communication between the racing team and what they were experiencing on race weekends and testing wasn't really translating to the engineering team, the factory, or vice versa. Anyway, having one person to sort of, coagulate all of that random data and avoid any sort of miscues is the issue. And Yost will be now managing the team. I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect this is the first in many changes that Williams will eventually do as the new owners look for more performance gains out of the team that they bought. And
Not being last, yes.
Yeah, right. So I'm thinking Doralton's thinking, what would it take for us not to be last?
How can we beat Haas, right?
Yeah. I mean, Haas has made it clear that this is basically a bus tour around the circuits this year for two rookies, and we aren't beating them. They're not developing their car at all, and one of them is constantly wrecking. How can we not be beating Haas? If I'm Doralton, that's what I'm saying, right?
Yes. They're beating themselves, and yet we can't beat them.
Right.
Yes.
Right. They're DNFing, and we're barely beating them when they DNF.
That is correct, right.
So I have to think that more changes are going to come. Now, with change usually comes some level of investment from Doralton, I would imagine. But this move in and of itself just seems, from the outside looking in, to be a pure cost cutting. I mean, you're basically eliminating that salary and absorbing those duties back into two other people that are already on payroll. Now, taking the first 100 days to make this change is interesting, and I'm even more curious if Yost feels he has the right components in place, or if they're going to be actually hiring people to cure some of the technical issues that Williams is having from a chassis standpoint. Now, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they should just hire the Mercedes guys that Red Bull just hired.
Right. Well, they could just poach them. They could poach other key people from other teams. Now, you recall that they did make a philosophical change. Williams used to just buy the engines, but then they made their own gearboxes, et cetera, et cetera. And now that Doralton owns them, they made a philosophical change where they're buying the engines and the gearboxes and all the components that is allowable from Mercedes, but they're still not performing at the level as other Mercedes customers are. So, that's kind of challenging. It goes to show the performance delta between McLaren, Aston Martin, and Williams is really significant. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done from Williams' part to try to be on par. Because if they're buying all the same componentry that Aston Martin is, they're not even in the same zip code as Aston Martin right now.
Sure, right.
Yeah. And I don't know that one move, kicking one dude to the curb is going to do it.
No, I mean, and the race said the same thing, right? That the idea was that the kids at the factory and the kids at the race team, that when they win or they do well, they win. When they do well, it's up to the. Was that an ad? Am I going to have to end this now?
Yeah, Quick Trip ought to be sending me money. So should Red Bull, damn it, but they never do.
That's true. But they
the race, yes,
conflict,
the kids
right?
at
and they
the
said
factory,
the same thing, right? Yeah. Because the kids at the factory get all the blame when stuff doesn't go well, and yet when things do go well, then the race team takes all the claims. So there's conflict between the two, and this is
sort of an us and them
together, right?
It sort of reminds you of the circle building versus the square building issues at McLaren back in the day.
Thought leaders are, right?
The thought leaders, yes.
In the square building.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm sure this is a problem that's common. I mean, it makes sense to me, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
in my job, right, there's always conflict because you have the people at headquarters and then you're the people out in the field that are collecting your data. And funny, those two groups of people don't always see eye to eye, right?
Yeah,
because the headquarters people are saying, you don't see the data I see, you need to change this. And people in the field are like, I'm the one knocking on the door. What do you know? Right. So I think that kind of conflict is easy to see in, I would imagine, most professions. So it makes sense that the factory kids and the race team kids don't really kind of gel.
Well, and it lends itself a little bit to, the bigger the company, the more those sort of silos naturally just occur, because if you're from product management or R&D to product management, you have a certain passion for what it is you're designing. You have a segment marketing group or a regional or corporate marketing group that's trying to get their heads around the messaging. You've got the sales forces that have to get behind the product to go sell it. And then when you got to execute when you sell it, and then you have the order entry groups, and you have all these different processes and different people that have varying different levels of passion for whatever it is they're doing. I mean,
Right.
it's one thing to be a product manager who loves their product and worked with R&D to make it and got marketing to say the right things about it. But by the time you're down to ordering, the order entry people and they're that's not the only product that they're ordering, right? And their daily job is ordering all kinds of stuff. So you have varying levels of interest, varying levels of passions about what happens. And it does shine a light on the fact that if you look at a group like Mercedes, as large as they are, that's even more opportunity for miscues, miscommunication, misunderstandings, different varying levels of passion for certain elements, and it's amazing to get an operation that large to operate at that level of efficiency.
Yes, because even a small team isn't small, right?
Right,
Like in that sense,
right.
right? It's still lots of people.
Right.
Yeah, I was trying to. I watched a bit that Sam Collins did. He's with Sky, I think, right? And with Craig Scarborough, who I realized relatively recently, even though I know who Craig Scarborough is and I've seen his drawings and whatnot, I didn't know what he looked or sounded like. So it was just another one of those like, oh, I would have never have known that that's who you were. But I know who you are. So, and I was trying to think of what they call the because it's the parts that are touched by airflow are the ones that you have to design. And I think they called them, it was like wet parts or something like that, but it was super British, and it's what they're calling the Formula One rules. And it was just like, oh, that's such a British way of thinking of like, what was it like? We dampen oscillation as opposed to absorbing shock, which was always the Steve Matchett, versus, English versus American English. But they had to, it was just such a great way that the rules are written, because it's this like great visual. I think it's something like wet parts. I just remember that it had nothing to do with airflow, because Sam had to explain that. I'm also going to take this tangent as well, because you mentioned how they just had the crew chief, the team principal at Williams before he got fired was, the featured guy right on the wall that they were talking to. They'd also talked to Andrea Seidel, but with the mask on, that guy doesn't emote. He could have been saying anything, right? Like they could have, like his eyes don't move, nothing. He just the whole time was like this, and he could have been really excited, but he still just talked like this, and he could have been really sad and still just talk like this. Like they could have like played any audio over his face, because you can't read his lips because of the mask, because there's no emoting going on anywhere else. It was great.
I'm going to take over the entire EU and I'm going to bend it to my will. And there's like nothing.
Nothing. It was great.
Yeah.
I was like, he could be saying anything right now, and they could just be piping in whatever they want, and we'd never know, because nothing changed.
Yeah.
There's no emoting going on there. But so that's what I heard too, that it's an attempt to unify the team. And I mean, at this point,
title. Yes.
If FX, I like that. I didn't realize that was his nickname. But if FX can, do it, I think that we all have wanted for the last 20 years Williams to not be terrible. So
FX,
Williams,
he comes rolling in this Monday morning.
What you know about rolling down?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's FX, man.
Yeah, and the late night version is like what, FXX? Wasn't that FX's like After Dark channel?
That was a Ferrari car.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ferrari, Grace.
Yes.
Big moves at the team boss role over there. Ferrari have gone and hired them a propeller head. Now, this is completely out of left field. Ferrari has hired Benedetto Vigna. As an American, as a Yankee, we butcher names. That's just what we do for a living. But it's Vigna. I don't speak the language, but I'm going to say it's Vigna.
Okay.
All right? I don't know that. It could be Vigna. That's how we would look at it and say it. We're so literal. So anyway, you'll recall the CEO, Louis Camilleri, retired suddenly last December due to personal reasons. And so Vigna comes from the technology industry, previously leading a division at ST Microelectronics, a very large electronics company, where he specialized in sensor technology. Now, while many in the business press look at this as an unusual appointment, as Ferrari's effort to reinvent itself as a real player in the EV market, that's how, where did I read that? Bloomberg? Financial Times? Wall Street? I can't remember. Anyway, it was like, oh, so they got a guy from the electronics industry to try to get him in the EV market. Maybe, I don't know, but I am curious how Vigna will approach the brand, the legacy, and the commitment to racing in general. Don't really care what he's doing about electric vehicles. Not interested. I am interested in what kind of money he's going to pour into the Formula One racing program and sports cars. I am interested in how he feels about the brand, which is one of the most iconic brands in the world, and the legacy that is Ferrari. Because when you hire from outside like that, sometimes they come in and hopefully he'll really embrace that Ferrari ethos, if you will. Ferrari chairman John Elkann said that Vigna brings a, quote, deep understanding of the technologies driving much of the change in our industry, and his proven innovation, business building, and leadership skills will further strengthen Ferrari and its unique story of passion and performance in the exciting era ahead, end quote. What do you think about that, Grace?
So, we often talk about, in response to Spygate, Flavio Briatore said, I don't know why McLaren just didn't steal other teams' engineers like the rest of them do. So you may remember there was a bit of a controversy around 2019 that Ferrari was, may or may not have been involved in, that may or may not have involved some sensors. And I don't know. Why don't we hire the sensor guy to help us out?
Why not? It was a fuel detection, a fuel flow sensor thing.
It is a sensor, though.
It is a sensor.
I'm just saying. How do we get around this? Let's hire the guy that knows a lot about sensors, and let's see if we can work our magic.
See Benedetto down there with a soldering iron, beavering away. No, man, we used to make these sensors. You wouldn't even know they're working. Yeah.
So if we suddenly see Bonato without all the hair, we'll know what happens. A soldering accident.
It'd be like the Christmas tree in A Christmas Vacation. Just all the flames just yeah. Oh boy. Well, Ferrari. Okay, so read into Elkann's statement what you will, whether you feel like he's saying, "Hey, we went out and got a computer guy and a stuff for our EVs." Okay, whatever. That's not quite how I read that, but anyway, Ferrari, in my mind, has been in new territory ever since the key management shakeup a few years ago with the ouster of Luca Di Montezemolo and several top key management positions, including several F1 team bosses, including Maurizio Arrivabene.
And it's always a big emotion.
It's always a big emotion when you dump Maurizio.
I think that bullet point is very true.
Yes, and I think it's been reeling ever since that. In many ways, I think this internal turmoil is what actually impacted the future Sebastian Vettel had at that team. But that's just my opinion.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Will Vigna turn things around, or Vigna, or how you pronounce his name, whatever? Time will tell.
Some soldering skills.
Well, he's got mad soldering skills. Give me the solder sucker. And time will tell. But if you're Charles Leclerc, however you pronounce the name, whatever, and Carlos Sainz, chuck the chair, and Carlos Sainz, you are hoping that Benedetto is a huge racing fan.
Yeah, right? Like,
yes.
I don't care. I think especially if you're Carlos Sainz, like, because that would be his luck. Like, I just got here. What's wrong with
yeah, exactly. Right? Like, Carlos needs to go grab him by the ear, march him into the office in Maranello, point at the big person sitting at the desk and point and go,
This is Enzo Ferrari.
yes, that's what
right.
he needs to do.
That's right.
So let's hope.
I hope
everybody.
so. I don't
Yes.
know. I'm just saying those sensors, they're going to look a little better now.
Oh, look at those fuel sensors. All of a sudden, just Ferrari's magically got that power back.
I don't know. Why an EV thing? I'm perplexed by that as well. That's not
I don't know. I guess, yeah, why not? Go get a guy who's a computer propeller head guy, and we'll see what we can make out of that.
It's also not the same as EVs either, right? Like that's like, Flip does IT stuff, but he's not a website creator. Like that's a yes, it is under the IT umbrella, but that is not necessarily what he does.
Yeah, and
right?
I don't know enough about ST Microelectronics to know what all divisions they have and how many of those may be heavily invested in EV technology that's used in the EV. And they're very well could be, but I think he was running a division that was kind of focused on sensors, or at least I think I read that in the Wall Street Journal or wherever I saw that article at. Apologies. I linked to the article on the story on our website. I just can't recall it.
Financial Times is going to be very mad now because they listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I don't think it was FT, but it was somebody. CNBC, I think, is where I saw it.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
all right.
I'm sure they don't listen to the podcast either.
No,
We're
I
in the
doubt they
clear.
do. Yeah, I don't doubt they do. Hey,
All right.
you'd be forgiven, folks, for completely forgetting about our dear friend Eric Boullier.
Never forget.
Never forget Eric Boullier.
That's right.
Because he's not gone, folks, from F1. No. Quite the contrary. He, unless for those of you that haven't been keeping track of this meteoric career of his, he is now the boss of the French Grand Prix at Paul Ricard. And he said that the Turkish Grand Prix cancellation was a big problem for him.
'Cause now
Let
we have
me
to
elaborate.
move our very boring race to a whole different weekend.
Oh, we? So let me elaborate. Following the cancellation of the Turkish Grand Prix, F1 asked Boullier to move the Paul Ricard event from its original date, which was June 27th, to June 20th. That means he had to move it a week ahead in order to make way for a second race in Austria.
Right.
Now, he said, quote, "It was a big problem. You don't set a Grand Prix up in the last 3 days. It's a few months' work, which we had to scrap and to adjust and to move. During the Grand Prix, I've got 1,200 people. They had booked their week to work for us, and when you move that date 6 weeks before, they have to change all those plans. Then the spectators, obviously, everybody has booked plane, train, accommodations, or whatever, and they had to change everything again. So it's been a real challenge. We moved the date earlier by 1 week on F1's request, and we lost 20% of the spectators, but the tickets have been resold straight away, so that's good." He said that the Grand Prix is going to host 15,000 spectators in separate sections with separate entrances, and it will be the biggest event in France post-COVID. So, who knows? But he did also add this. He said with more possible cancellations, he said that they would be willing to host another race later in the season.
I loved it. "You guys completely screwed me over. I can't believe this. I hate all of you. But if you want us to host another one, we'll be more than happy to do it."
May I have some more, please?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Morale will improve, right? I think that
Yes.
the beatings will stop when the morale improves. So I think
Right.
that was my favorite hook of that story was that like, oh my God, all this work, all these things you make us do, but if you want to have another one, we'll be ready for that. I mean,
We'll do it again in a heartbeat.
no problem. Just let us know. We're here.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I get that. And I feel like those people have been saved. Those people that were planning to come to Paul Ricard and are now off by a week and are still going to come to France, but
Yeah,
not go to
right.
the race. Enjoy that time you got back in your life.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So, I think
Well,
that-
speaking of tracks, we have news from COTA.
Oh.
What news from Gondor? Well, the news from COTA is something similar. With the cancellation of the Singapore Grand Prix, COTA boss Bobby Epstein says that they are happy to host 2 races this year. That makes sense to me, as the circuit lost its race last year due to COVID. And that meant that they lost around 95% of the track's revenue. So doubling down this year would be very helpful, right? He said, quote, "As long as I put the word possible in front of it, then we're good." He said a second race in...
Don't give away your secrets, man.
We could possibly pull this off.
Right.
Yes, he said a second race in Austin is possible. I read that and thought, well, that's true, he said when they were talking about it. A second race in Austin is a done deal. That is not true. He said, but it's easy to flip it if they decide they want to and they need to, and it's the best decision for the sport. They can make that decision, and we're there for that. So he says they're open, totally happy to do it. If you think about finding another location means all the logistics and weather concerns in October and all those things that are compounded in North America, right? And Bobby says, if it's good for F1, you don't have to do all that. You can keep everything there.
Yeah.
Because there was some talk, and it's just a bunch of scuttlebutt. Well, we could go to Indy because they've got a track there, and we could do that. No, don't go to Indy. No.
Go back to COTA.
This is horrible, this idea.
Don't. Why would you do that?
No, don't.
We
And
would all
Bobby
rather-
was like, it's in Indianapolis in October. You could get frost. You could get, just
And
stay in
it's
Austin.
Indianapolis and there ain't shit to do. Let's go to Texas again.
Yeah, instead of going to St. Elmo's, it's about it.
That's right.
It is
There's
a good steak.
It is, but it's a good place. But I think that even just from the track perspective, I'd much rather go to COTA twice. But I also like that you followed this after the Eric Boullier story. There was like, oh my God, the National Team's like, this is so hard. You made us move it up a week. What are we gonna do? And then you have Bobby Epstein who's just like, yeah, whatever. Just 2 days before, just let us know. We'll be there.
Just let us know. We're there. Yeah.
We'll open the gates. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll dust the track off. It's good. Come on over.
I think the reality is Bobby knows that if they desperately need to add a second race, they pay him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Right. I mean,
so he's like, yeah, we'll do
I'll
that.
make it happen. Whatever.
If I could offset my total F1 expenditure for hosting a race by paying for one and then getting reimbursed for that and hold 2 races, sign me up, man. Everything else is gravy. We're selling turkey legs and hot dogs.
We'll figure it out. That's right.
We're going to figure it out.
That's right.
We're going to merch the hell out of this thing, man.
That's right. I just like the tale of 2 racetracks here we got going on.
Yeah,
here.
right. Let's see. Also in the news, Aston Martin. We were speaking about teams and logistics and all the challenges. Well, Aston Martin, their new HQ, their new headquarters is set to open in August of 2022. And our friend and yours, Otmar Snafnauer, says the team will begin hiring key people to bridge the gap to their rivals. Here's what he said. He said, quote, "We've added significantly the amount of people we have since we were Force India. The new factory is on track. We have started building already, and it's a big, big program to recruit even further. We are at about 535 people now, and we will get to about the region of 800 or whatever the right size is under the cost cap. And we are strategically working on that now and trying to recruit like-minded individuals that want to come work for Aston Martin Racing and go racing at the highest level. The recruitment process is going well." Well, Otmar, I got to tell you, it's a little weird because nobody in HR has called me.
Right.
It isn't going that well, my friend.
That's right. Like-minded people. Yeah. But I think that... So are they staying at Silverstone or are they building somewhere else?
No, they're there. Yeah, they're building just
bigger. They're just building a bigger square and a bigger circle, but they're staying in the same location.
Yeah, it's like Lawrence Stroll's junk hut. It's a big HQ, thing.
Okay. I was just wondering, I thought I was gonna have to memorize a new location for when I read stuff in Autosport, right? Practically based team. Like I don't want to have to remember a new location. So
right. Especially the British locations. They're always tough to kind of remember. I always remember Woking,
Right.
And there's Brackley and
Right.
Milton Keynes and Silverstone's easy.
Right.
But if it's something over Tyne, something
don't
by
make
the river, something all, I don't know. It gets a little weird.
Yeah, so no more new locations. They're just building a bigger
Right.
facility in their current location.
It could be Lawrence by Sea. Is the new address.
Even though there's any sea near them, probably not.
Probably not.
All
Probably
right.
not. But did you know that Silverstone used to be a World War II airstrip?
You know what? I'm sure they're going to remind us of that 700
will.
times.
Yeah,
But
sure they will.
I do want to give a shout out to all you Sebastian Vettel haters because much like Russell Westbrook, I think you all owe him an apology now because he doesn't suck and people need to
Yeah.
bring it down a notch. So
Yeah, everybody needs to just tone it down a little bit on the Seb hating.
yes,
know?
that's
I
right.
mean, not every race has gone his way this
No,
year, and
But I think in Baku, he's kind of shown that,
yeah,
maybe Ferrari was the anomaly and not him.
right. Maybe
Yes.
maybe that's it. So give him a much needed break.
Can I go for a wee?
Yes, Seb, you go for a wee.
That's right. I also want to note that unrelated was that Baku finally they can stop running the ticker underneath every shot of Fernando Alonso that Ocon's beat him in every race because he finally beat Ocon in a race. So now you can all stop saying that too.
Right. That's true. Oh, hey, speaking of winning races, it was a good day and a bad day for the Swedes
That is correct.
in Detroit. Did you see it? The good news is our friend, everyone knows and loves him, Marcus Ericsson,
Yeah.
the Swede, won the Detroit Grand Prix for IndyCar this weekend, which does nothing but bolster my longtime phrase for him, don't F with the Swede.
That's right.
All right? You don't F with the Swede, and he won. Now, it didn't go so well for Felix Rosenqvist, fellow Swede. He had a stuck throttle and hit the barriers
Yeah.
head on full throttle in a brutal incident. He was checked to the medical center, sent to the hospital, kept overnight observation, and released. So thankfully, he's okay. But great result for Marcus Ericsson. Anyway, kudos to you, Marcus. Great win. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see him have some success in IndyCar. It's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of success, Grace,
Well, the success just keeps on rolling.
it just keeps on going. Did anyone watch the IMSA race in Detroit? Of course you did. Why? Because our very own Paul Charsley and the team that is Heart of Racing, Aston Martin, won. That's right, they won. They actually finished the race in P2, believe it or not.
Right.
And they were in second Detroit in the race this weekend, but they inherited first place as the winning team. Carbon with Paragon Racing was found to have, quote, demonstrated a refueling time faster than the minimum full fill refueling time in the class-specific BOP table.
So this is the longest sentence to just say, you took too long refueling.
Or, no, it was too fast.
Oh, you were too fast. You're right.
Yes.
Faster than the minimum. Like,
Yes.
why'd you use like 17 words to just say you moved through the pits too fast?
Yeah, you guys are injecting fuel in the cars much faster than what's allowed for your
That's
class.
right. All right.
Yeah. So I texted Paul, and Paul and I had a kind of a back and forth over text. I won't say anything about that; it wouldn't be appropriate. But it is a bummer because the guy who won is Jeff Westphal. We love Jeff Westphal.
Yes,
Jeff is
right.
awesome. And when I did the Audi driving experience that Paul was gracious enough to take me out, Jeff was one of the instructors, and I had a great time with Jeff. And we've interviewed Jeff, and we've had him on covering for Paul in the past on race reviews. Jeff's a super cool guy, great driver, and he won in that Audi, and it's just a shame that the team either missed that or did that. It's just a shame. Because he really deserved the win. He's a great guy. However, on the other hand, Ian James, Paul, Roman DeAngelis, Ross Gunn, the entire team at Heart of Racing. How cool is that? A P1. Very exciting for Ian and the entire team. What a great job. So if you guys aren't following the IMSA series and the number 23 Aston Martin Heart of Racing, you really should, because Paul is the sporting manager for that team, working with his dear friend Ian James, who runs that team, and they're doing really well. I mean, they're in the top 3, top 4. They're gunning for wins, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So
I just want to point out that look, you do racing notes. I'm not mocking your racing notes, but I did have a giggle about your typo here, which is instead of the Heart of Racing team, the Here to Racing team, which I like we're here to race.
That.
We're the Here to
Here
Race
to race team. I like it.
instead of, Heart of Racing team.
Here to race team.
The Here to Race team. So
I like it.
I like it too. So that's again, you're typing this stuff up. You're living your life. You're doing these things. But that one I like. Here to Race team.
I like it. That's good.
That's why we're here. We're here to race.
We're here to race. So is
in
Paul.
our name.
He's here to race, man.
That's
he did
right.
send me a picture. They all went out after the race, and everybody had their beers lined up. Everybody was having a celebratory drink.
That's great. Yes.
So, yeah, it was good. All right. Should we talk about some Albin's Cats section?
Absolutely.
It's time for a little Albin's Cats. Okay.
All right. You know what? I feel like that music appropriately goes with a picture of Albon's cats.
Yes. So any of you watching our YouTube version of this
go.
podcast will see Grace holding up the cats. The first thing I wanted to mention is Fernando Alonso was singing George Russell's praises this week, saying he does something special every weekend. And I didn't realize, I must have missed the story, that the two of them swapped helmets during the Monaco Grand Prix.
I know this was a thing.
Yeah, I didn't either. So they swapped helmets. And apparently, Fernando signed his helmet and gave it to George. And on the helmet, he said, "George, you rock." And then he put "future world champion." And so they're asking, "Oh, future world champion? What? Whoa! Why were you writing that?" And he waxed poetic about George. And I thought it was delightful. And if you ever needed a letter of recommendation for that second seat at Mercedes, I'm kind of thinking he could just go in, turn that helmet around, and show Toto and say, "Here's my letter of recommendation from a two-time world champion."
That's right.
There you go. It was
yes.
good.
Who do you recommend? This guy.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a thing. I wonder if that's always a thing. Because, NBA players at the end swap jerseys a lot of times, right?
Right.
So I wasn't sure if this was, always a thing. Because, helmets are a bit more expensive than a jersey. But
well, Fernando can afford it.
Sure he can. And
speaking of things that are expensive, Grace,
yes.
So Coterie Press sent you this link.
Oh, yes, they did.
This is great. I'm going to hold this picture up. This
Charles the Chair.
is Charles Leclerc.
Look at that jacket.
And what's he wearing? He's wearing, let me zoom in here. He's wearing Ferrari's brand new internal fashion line.
I just love it that they have one. He looks like something out of Star Wars in that jacket. I just was like, oh my goodness.
Looks like a bounty hunter from the cantina.
Yeah, Ferrari can't have this. AlphaTauri, they can't have this.
What is everybody coming out with their own fashion line? And then, it's time for Benetton to come back at this point.
Yes, they missed it. Where have they, right? They were ahead of the time.
Yeah, you could get flop.
Jesus Christ.
That would be good.
Yeah.
They have the new fashion line, I guess. Now, I took the liberties of inspecting this new fashion line. And Grace, I've got to tell you, it is on par with Lewis Hamilton's Tommy Hilfiger line.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it on CNN Style.
Oh.
And they rolled out their first in-house fashion collection, offering fans of the Ferrari brand, that's us, and its supercars, that's not me. I love them, but I don't own one. A touch of couture within a contemporary clothing range. The launch marks a major step in Ferrari's new brand strategy, one of its biggest investments outside the car business, which the company wants to account for around, are you ready for this? 10% of the profits in 7 to 10 years, folks. That means that the total revenue that the Ferrari company makes, they want 10% of that to come from their fashion brand.
Do they have anything else besides the cars? They make that sound like, they have toaster ovens or something that they're...
Yeah, well,
3 kinds of heat. I just think that all they have is cars and a fashion line.
They should make their own sham wow.
Yes.
The Italians, they're always making good things.
It's German. That's how you know it's good. I just think that My response was, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that I have some ideas for how they should do their product launch. And it was a picture from the 1000th GP celebration from last year, because nobody should ever forget about that.
No.
When I watched Drive Survive, I was very happy that the annals of history will always have that moment captured in Drive to Survive, because that, sir, was great. People climbing down walls, it was crazy. You thought Lewis Hamilton being flown into an opera was crazy. That whole thing was crazy, and all those people had to just sit there with all those other people and like pretend like this was fascinating and interesting, instead of just like, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
So
interpretive dance.
It was something. I don't know. It was something, but and it just kept going, and so that's what I feel like they should do as well for their entertainment when they announce it.
Maybe for the next podcast, I should have Paul work up an interpretive dance of his victory in Detroit.
Ooh, that I'd like to see.
I would love to see that.
I also want to see if, because AlphaTauri always does the like all this fashion stuff with Gasly and Yuki, right? Maybe Ferrari will start doing the same thing of like them and like their like street clothes, which isn't street clothes because it's AlphaTauri's clothes, right?
Right, and so that's what really pisses Kvyat off the most. Because he didn't get to hang around to get all the cool fashion.
That's right, and Max Verstappen stole his baby mama, so you know,
right?
It never ends.
Oh. That's got to be an interesting holiday time.
God, I want that wedding. I want to be in that wedding so much. Like,
imagine Kvyat going over to get the kid, and there's Max coming out.
You know, so great. But I think that's, I hope they do, or that they have, you know, like Charles Leclerc in his like racing suit, but with that jacket, right? Like
that
90 degrees weather, right? And this big like long leather coat. I don't know. It was crazy, but thank you for sending it to me, because it is absolutely Lewis Hamilton fashion worthy, and deserves a place here in this segment.
See, I like it too. I think that whole jacket and everything kind of looks, I don't know. I was trying to figure it out, but you're right. It's got a specific look to it. It's I don't know. I'm just looking at it again. It just What did you say it looked like?
Something out of Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah, I see
the
that.
leather makes it kind of look futuristic-y, and it's really long, and you know, and then he has like the red fabric in the background, you know.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Kind of makes it kind of feels very like Star Warsy.
Yeah. Okay.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
There you go.
Yeah, and now their CEO used to work for a sensor company.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So they're good. They're good now.
You know what they should have done is put him in the new clothes. Hey, we got a new CEO sporting our new fashion line.
This is how we haze you.
Welcome to Ferrari, dude. Yes.
That's right.
All right.
You must climb the buildings. All right. So I have a few things that I'd like to also place in Albon's Cats. First is, so there's a lot of discussion about the Lewis Hamilton brake magic, right, at Baku, and I do love how Bono goes, well, it was off when you left here. Like, we're not blaming you, but I'm just telling you that last time I looked at it, because I know, I mean, you have kids, but I'm sure, you know, there are times, soon you will be not kids in the house, and there was a time when you didn't have kids in the house, but I definitely do that. Like, somebody left the refrigerator door open. Clearly it wasn't me, because I would have closed it, right? So there's only two of us, so that means it was you. So it was very much like that. The one was like, I don't know, when you left here, it was turned off. I don't know what happened.
I don't know, but hey.
Get in there, Lewis.
Get in there, Lewis.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, last time I touched it, the door was closed, right? So, but I think in all this discussion of what is brake magic, why do they use it, how do you accidentally bump it, all these things, I really just think brake magic should be the next Flex Seal product, because they literally have like a line of like 6 things. Brake magic just seems like I could just see Phil Swift with his brake magic.
It's perfect.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Seal.
I love it.
See, so I think this is a new Flex Seal product.
You know, Flex Seal should come up with some products and get in the automotive world, and then they could do brake magic.
That's right. I think,
I like it.
brake magic.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
I'm all in on that. I'd also like to point out that, so they did another one of the, pit wall to Mike Massey, hey, everybody's speeding
Yeah.
into the yellow flags. Aren't you going to do anything about it?
Right.
And I love that Mike Massey, I mean, whether or not you agree with what he said, I just love his dad logic. It was totally like, you're all going to your room. I don't care who started it. I'm finishing it. You're all going to your rooms.
Right.
And I just love that kind of like dad justice.
It was like, well, they were speeding. He goes, yeah, but they were all speeding.
Right. And so I love that. So Flip told the story of his dad, like when they were kids, because he has 2 older sisters, and it's like, so one of his sisters would get in trouble, and his dad would turn to him and go like, I don't know why you're laughing. It's not like you're right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. Like, I don't know why you think you're getting off with something here. You're all terrible people, and I can't believe I let you live in this house with me. Right.
Right. Yeah,
I
that
just
was
love
funny.
Mike Massey's, dad logic, and like, you're all in trouble, and I don't care, and you're all going to your room.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's going to the room.
that's right. I'm finishing it here.
Yeah.
Dad logic. And then one last thing, because, I realized that last podcast, I really like the whole like dentist in love with his stepsister thing was just like really set a high bar, I feel like, for my Albon's Cat News. And that I don't know that I can ever live up to that again, because that was some monumental information that I found out there for, just random internet search. But did you know that vegetables aren't real?
No.
So vegetables aren't a real thing. A vegetable is a culinary term, not a botanical term. So like fruit are a real thing. It's a botanical term. Vegetables are just what culinary people call parts of plants that we eat. There are
how
no
about
vegetables.
that?
It's a lie. It's a lie.
It's a lie. Really?
It's a lie. Yeah.
Lies. Oh, lies!
That's crazy.
But if I have to have my mind blown about the fact that I've been eating plant organs and I thought they were vegetables, and they're not. It's just parts of plants that you
just
eat.
parts of plants. Okay, fair enough.
It's vegetables. It's all a
All
lie.
right. Well, back it down on the kale then.
Well, I don't know. I like kale.
I don't.
Everybody hates on the kale. I know, but
I know everybody was talking on Twitter about Roman Grosjean, right?
Roman Grosjean.
Roman said he's not a lettuce. It's not romaine.
I just wish, like I loved it when Dan Weldon wore the shirt that said like, remember me, I won the Indy 500.
Yeah.
Like I love that kind of like low key, not low key, anger, bitter sarcasm in a t-shirt. So I really just want, Grosjean to wear a shirt that says, right, I'm not French. I'm French. I'm not lettuce. Right. Like and he never will, because he's actually a nice guy and a professional, unlike me.
Right. Well, this is how a professional Roman, because see, I said, at least he's a good piece of lettuce. I'm like iceberg lettuce. I'm
That's
like the
true,
wedge
right.
salad, right?
He's
At least he's
delicious
romaine.
lettuce, right?
Right. So did you see what this guy's got nerves of steel? He was in that wicked crash last year, burnt his hands. Okay, in Detroit, pulled over, his car starts to smoke and catch fire. He jumps out of his car. It's going to burst into flames. He sees it. He imagine, if you will, what was going through his mind
Just happened,
watching that car start to catch fire in Detroit, and what he was thinking, right? This would be bring back horrible memories.
Yeah.
No, he jumps out of his car, runs over to the marshals, grabs a fire extinguisher, runs back to start putting his own car out. I thought, dude, that's awesome.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I ain't got that.
It's amazing. Yeah, good for him, Roman.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So Roman Grosjean.
That's great.
I'm glad that, if Formula One feels like they don't have space for him, I'm glad that somebody else has benefited.
Yeah, me
from
too.
his talent.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it?
That's all I got.
That's it for the podcast.
Vegetables were lies, a pretty big.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one. All right. All right. Well, that does it for this show. Be sure to share your opinion over at theparcfermé.com. Share your opinions. Do it according to civility. Huge thank you to our Patreon supporters out there, because without you, we would not and could not do this podcast. So thank you very much. Big shout out to Ian, who I met as a great guy, and found out that he and his wife now watch Formula One because of the Netflix series. So great to have him and his wife on board for Formula One and getting into the series, and great to have you on board, and that's awesome. Also, go over to iTunes, give us a little love, give us a good rating over there if you like the podcast. Share it with some friends, tell people about it, and until next week when we come back to review a race, this is Todd, aka Negative Camper, saying so long, Grace.
See you in a couple weeks.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.